fans, use this radio station tomorrow morning for important news updates. Listen to Utah's most important radio station tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Cougar Nation, sponsored by Central Bank. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you here. BYU basketball in a tough spot right now. 1-3 in Big 12 play, 10-5 overall. They are outside of many bracketology projections. If that's, that's still a long way to go. There's still a lot of basketball left.
There's plenty of quad one opportunities left.
No question, but the time is ticking, Matt, and BYU has to get a win tomorrow night against Oklahoma State. Look, they're all must-wins. I believe that. Any loss is always tough. But tomorrow feels like if you lose that one, a team that got hammered by 20-plus to Utah on Saturday, Oklahoma State, if you lost that one, goodness gracious, it could be close-up shop maybe on the season. So if there was ever a must-win, it feels like tomorrow night.
Yeah, this is the type of game where if all goes well, you score 90 points, multiple guys shoot the ball well, you find some rhythm, you build on that, then you go on the road, you get your first road win against Utah, then you go to Colorado, another winnable game. You win these three, and maybe Jaeger bounces back, and you find some rotational lineups that you can settle down with, then all is not lost. There's still great opportunities ahead. There's some great teams coming to the Marriott Center. That place is going to be rocking. They take down at Kansas. Arizona hasn't been great, but if you get in Arizona, that'll still always look good in the eyes of some. There's plenty of opportunities. This light Big 12 slate that's coming this week, it's exactly what this team needs, but they cannot struggle. They have to, dare I even say, Mitch, they have to win convincingly. Like they can't just they can't just eke out a 2-point win against Oklahoma State at home. You have to thump them and get back to playing BYU basketball, more up-tempo, more threes, less turnovers, better free throw shooting. They do those things. Look, it's not, as Kevin Young said earlier, it's not all doom and gloom, but this is the key week. It's light, get back to winning, get back to playing good basketball, and they'll be in a good position.
The concerns for BYU, too, we haven't seen this team win a true road game. So you have got to, defend home court more than ever because they are 0-3 in true road games. So here's the next 4 games coming up. You've got Tuesday night tomorrow, 7 p.m. tip here on KSL, BYU, Oklahoma State. Saturday against Utah. Tuesday on the road at Colorado, who's winless in league play. And then Saturday, January 25th at the Marriott Center, revenge opportunity against Cincinnati, who also is winless, and they were a preseason top 25 team. These are games you have to win to get back on track. And to your point about tomorrow night, yes, you need to hammer Oklahoma State, similar to what you did against Arizona State back on New Year's Eve. I think that would be a nice step in the right direction for this BYU team to get a little bit of confidence going into that Utah game. And I know tomorrow night's going to be a big one for BYU, but maybe your early thoughts on Saturday, BYU and Utah. Utes coming off their first win as a Big 12 program on Saturday against Oklahoma State. But your thoughts on that matchup in the Huntsman Center coming up this weekend?
Should be a blowout, Mitch.
A blowout, huh?
I don't see, if you just go 1 through 8 across the roster, even with guys like Demon playing poorly and catching kind of up and down, hot and cold, is there one matchup, 1 through 8, that you think Utah has an advantage? Because before the season you would have said Gabe Madsen over Richie, but you can't say that right now.
No.
Richie's playing much better than Gabe Madsen. So where does Utah have any opportunity to take advantage of something BYU does? The only way BYU loses is if they put up Jaeger Demon-like shooting numbers since his injury, 9% from 3 and 28% for the field. Otherwise, I think BYU wins convincingly.
Former BYU signee Jake Wallin had a career high in their win over the weekend. He got a start over the weekend. He had 16 points against Oklahoma State, so he's one to watch. He's playing some good basketball for Utah as of late. Then Ezra Soar, the East Carolina transfer. But I think you're right. I mean, BYU's the better team, but I don't see it being a blowout, Matt. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I was looking up some stats.
You're kidding me. Down to the wire?
It's a toss-up game.
It's not a toss-up game.
Ken Palm has BYU favored by 1.
Ken Palm is not the end-all, be-all. He's got some nice advanced analytics, but he's not Nostradamus.
Well, we know that. I mean, he said BYU was just going to get the easiest draw ever playing Duquesne. We saw that happen. How that worked out. Jeez. But I was looking up some stats of BYU at the Huntsman Center. They've only, since that Jimmer game where he buried it from 40 feet. What was the call that Greg had?
From 40 feet!
Yeah! He got it! Oh, man! Something like that. BYU's only won there twice.
Mark Durant in the background.
They've only won there twice since that game. That was the first year in the WCC when Utah was a 6-win team. And then, let's see, 3 years ago, when BYU went there, Caleb Lohner, they had that 6-0 start. BYU football was playing that same night against USC. That's it, though, Matt. They've only won twice. You've got to go back to find the last 10 wins over Utah in the Huntsman Center. Do you know how far back you have to go to find the last 10 wins in the Huntsman Center?
Well, now that you've framed the conversation in this regards, I'm going to say 1993.
1985. You got to go back 40
man.
years to find 10 wins in the Huntsman Center. So I'm saying BYU always kind of struggles in that building, and I think that's going to come down to the wire. Just find a way to win it. Get a perfect
week. The guy
week.
who swung last year's game, though, was playing in blue.
That is true. Kaba Keita, and he's going to be a big factor for BYU. What are your thoughts on Kaba as we start to wrap things up?
He needs to play more. I
agree.
I think his offensive shortcomings are being overblown. He's the best rebounder on the team. He's the only shot blocker on the team. And quite frankly, Foose, who I like on the offensive end, he's been bad defensively. And he's not rebounding well enough. So late game, I know that you're not going to get any O from Keita, but I would play him in big spots.
Some text coming in. What does BYU basketball need to do to snap its 3-game losing streak? Texter 0169 says, play as a team, practice free throws, and shoot with more confidence. Dominate boards. Free throws are a good point. BYU, you got to knock those things down. They're free for a reason. Texter 6774. Practice shooting free throws and three-pointers. I like that.
Nate Slack says the same thing. This is what our producer Nate Slack has to say about getting out of that slump. Reducing turnovers, which we discussed ad nauseum, making free throws.
BYU was 14 of 19 against TCU, which was a step in the right direction because the Texas Tech game, it was not pretty against the Red Raiders. And then Texter 3920, stop being so fancy with the ball, especially in their passes. Okay, I like that. Cougar Nation, I think Cougar fans, there's going to be better days ahead for this BYU basketball team, but I do think, Matt, that it's been a little bit somber for this Cougar Nation after all the excitement and build-up and to stumble out of the gates at 1-3 and struggle on the road the way that they have. It's been a little bit disappointing.
It has. And TCU, look, they had won, 17 games in a row against TCU before that loss. You expect to win those games. And teams that are shoe-ins to the tournament, those are the games they win. Now you have to sneak out some games that maybe you wouldn't have had to win previously because of these losses.
We'll have coverage tomorrow night on KSLSports.com from the Marriott Center, and then we'll talk to you on Saturday for Cougar Sports Saturday, getting you ready for BYU and Utah here on KSL. Subscribe to the podcast. We'll talk to you next time.